Hi, this is Mrs. McNulty, and in this video I'm going to step you through how to create the self-portrait collage. So at this point, hopefully you've already gathered all the images that you're going to use for your collage. That is part one of the project. Those images should include a background sort of texture image, a self-portrait that you have taken or had, set up and had somebody else take of you, and then other photos such as like family photos, places, favorite places, vacation places, some friends, maybe something about a hobby that you do, items that are important to you in your life. Could be up to 25 images. Doesn't mean that you have to use all of them. But we do need that background sort of textury image, and we need a portrait of you. That's the main image. And then all these sort of background images telling more about you or representing you and your life. All right. So hopefully you have all those in a folder on your Google Drive. And we're going to do this work, this project in Photoshop. So the first thing we're going to do is open that textured background. Okay, so we're going to go to Open. It goes right to my folder where I have a few photos stored already. I'm going to use this sky with clouds texture. You could use anything really. Probably just not something that's too complicated, but something just to give it a little texture and feel. Right, so we always want to have our layers open, so we'll go to Window Layers to see that. So let's go ahead and save it, just so we have it. Do a Save As, and let's name it. This time the project name is, or project number is 16, so we'll start with that. 16 dash self-portrait collage hyphen McNulty hyphen, and this is maybe the fourth one I think I'm doing, so version 4. I'm going to say V4. All right, and I'm going to save it in the working folder for this project. All right, big thing I want you to do is make sure you're saving it as a Photoshop document, because that's what it's going to be. Okay, everything's set. Save. All right, now under image, we're going to check on the image size, because you could have taken this background photo, or you could have gotten it from something on the internet. So we're going to make sure that it is a quality image, or at least a high resolution image. So we're going to go under image, image size, and constrain the proportion chain link, which is right here. Okay, so turn that on, but we're going to uncheck the resample box. All right, now your measurement should be in inches, but the width I want you to put in is 11. All right, now if your resolution is less than 300, okay, then we're going to click the resample box, and under the drop down, pick by cubic smoother to to enlarge it, and then type in 300 in there. Mine was came in at over 300, so I'm okay. Okay, that's a fine, good size, dimensions, of pixels. Okay, so you can just say okay. You have to check that before you go further. So the first thing we're going to do is select Layer, and then New Adjustment Layer, and then Hue and Saturation. Okay, and click OK. And you can see it shows up here on our Layers panel as this new Hue and Saturation layer. In the Properties panel, which will probably open up, or you can open if it's not already there, we're going to have you select the Colorize option, And play around with colors. You can decide what colors you want it to be. You're going to have 2 of these layers, so you can kind of think of 2 different colors you might like to use. I'm going to go with the purplish one this time. And then we're going to create a second layer like that. So we're going to say same thing, layer, new adjustment layer, hue and saturation. Okay, made a second layer for us. Again, I'm going to colorize it, so we're going to play around with some colors that we like. You can change the saturation a little bit, makes it a little darker, a little lighter. Play around with it until you like it. All personal preference there. All right, now I'm going to select the eraser tool, which is about halfway down the toolbar there. If you hover over it, it'll confirm that it is the eraser tool, or you can hit E for a short keyboard shortcut. When you click on a tool, remember up in the options bar, it gives you the options for that tool. So what I'd like you to make sure is that you have a soft brush, and you check that by clicking that down arrow. And here are your brush options. Soft round, make sure that's clicked or chosen. And then make sure that the opacity is set to 50 up here, and that it is the size is set to 900 pixels. So that's pretty large. When you come out, you'll see how big it is. Okay, so right now we're on the second hue and saturation layer that we picked. What we're going to do is erase some of it so that the layer underneath it shows through. I'm just clicking on the trackpad, wiping around this. I don't want to erase all of the second layer, but some of it so that the purplish layer shows through. Okay, so that's going to be our background area. To do that, you can see in the little thumbnail here, I was on the second layer. I erased some of it so the first hue and saturation layer shows through. All right, now we're ready to start adding some photos. First thing I'd like you to do is come up to the top of the toolbar and select the Move tool so that we can get the options up here. We want to uncheck this Auto Select box and check the Show Transform Controls option. Okay. Now we're going to go and open the portrait photo because that's the first one I want to add. I'm going to do File, Open. You'll navigate to where you have your originals stored. I stored them right here. That's the portrait I want to use. And open that. So that opens as a separate document. And what I'd like you to do is, while you're in the Move tool, grab that and sort of undock it from the top. And then again with the Move tool, click down on the trackpad and drag it into your file with the that has the background already there. You can kind of tell that it's pretty large. It's bigger than the background. So what we need to do is reduce it a bit. So you're going to go to one of the corners of the that bounding box, press the trackpad and just swipe in so that it's a little, get it down to a manageable size for this screen. I have to do it a few times. Okay. Now what we want to do is, and we're also making sure that came in, it should come in as a layer, as the top layer. So we have our background, the hue and saturation, and now our layer with the portrait on it. What I'd like you to do in that layers panel, on this drop down here, we're going to change the blending option to hard light. All right. Now, it's letting the background show through, so we'll move it to a place we like it. We don't have to do that just yet. We're going to do a little more work with it before we end up with that. All right. Now what we want to do is remove the background from the image. Okay. And the tool that we're going to use is the polygonal lasso tool. It is grouped with the third tool down. Yours might look like a regular lasso tool, okay, but if you click and drag out, you'll see the flyout menu, and the polygonal lasso tool is the second tool there. That's the one that we want to use for this. The options we want to change, make sure that this feather says 5 pixels, okay, and what we're going to do is basically outline the portrait and then select the background and delete it. Okay, so what we want to do, this tool works as like clicking different points. So it doesn't have to be perfect. We're just sort of outlining the portrait. It's not, a perfect outline, but close. We're just going to do it enough that we can get rid of the And the way that this tool works, and many other tools, when you're selecting something, it has to be what's called a closed shape. So as you're clicking, I'm going to go right to there, and then come out here and go up. Err on the side of like being outside of the area that you want to erase. Back down here. And the way that you know it's going to be a closed shape is you see the little circle in the bottom right hand corner of the tool icon. It's telling me that if I click there, it will close the shape. And you have to close it to be able to select it. Okay, when we do that, we see what's called the marching ants around there, saying that's the area that we're talking about within those marching ants, or that shimmering line. And at this point, all we do is hit the delete key, and it takes away that background, okay, to sort of deselect this option. You go up to select and deselect, okay. Now, I'd like to get rid of this little part on the side here, just in case. So I'm going to stay in the lasso tool, polygonal lasso tool, and do the same thing. It's a smaller area, but get rid of that. And I come back up, I see the little circle in the lower right, so I know I have that selected. Okay, that looks good. Now, at this point, I can go back to the move tool and, move my image around. I could enlarge it. You don't have to. You could move it down a little bit. This is the part where you get to customize what you want it to look like. Okay. Now, to add additional images, it's basically the same process. Open the image, right? Undock it, drag it into your collage, or open it, file, or edit, copy, edit, paste into this document. It will come in as a new layer. Make sure you're on that layer when you're working with it. You can use the polygonal lasso tool to get rid of any background or, parts of the photo that you don't want to include. You could also use the eraser tool, just like we did with the adjustment layer. If you would like to do it that way. Remember, there's always a few different ways to do things in Photoshop. Some things to consider as you're building your collage, that you do want that portrait to be, the main thing, the focal point. So keep that the largest image. You could choose to make some things black and white, keep some things in color. To make something black and white, it would be image, adjustment, black and white. If you maybe want to keep the portrait in color and everything else in black and white, you could do it that way, or vice versa. But, those little details add to the, sort of making it your own. So I hope this helped, and I hope that your collage comes out just as you want it to be. All right, thanks. Bye-bye.